The
Wait.
what's that? Oh,
Well, good afternoon. Are we on? Okay, and are we on? I think, are we on?
well, over the years, I mean, we've had
Good
strings over the
afternoon.
years, and
My name's Jennifer Landry. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the museum director of the Irving Archives and Museum. And we're so glad to see you all here today. Thank you. Thank you. Would you please join me before we begin as we acknowledge the ancestral land that we stand on? We honor the Kickapoo, Tawakoni, and Wichita nations, and many others whose names may not be known, as well as the living descendants and future ancestors who reside on and care for this land. The process of knowing and acknowledging the land we stand on is a way of honoring and expressing gratitude for those who came before us and are with us still. We pledge ourselves to do the work of decolonization, restoration, and reconciliation as we move forward to a more just future. Thank you. We're so thrilled to have you all here, so many new faces today. This has been a journey for us, as you can imagine. I mean, the documentary talks to us about the fact that, you know, we are in Texas and this is a challenging time for us to be presenting this kind of history. But the response has been overwhelmingly positive. You know, we were prepared for battle. And we've had some battles, but the response has just been so positive, both from within the community and from our larger community. And so we're just so grateful for the support that everyone has provided and hope that you'll continue to provide us support. This has been a 3-year journey for us, but a 30-year journey for Adrian Cardwell. And it is my incredible honor to introduce Adrian to you today. So let's get started.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody. Just real quick before we bring up the panel, Jen mentioned that this has been a 3-year journey to get to this point. When we first met, it was to start ideating that is this going to be able to happen? Should it even happen? Her son was a high school senior and is now a college junior. So like the passage of time and a lot more gray hair certainly for me, and I think probably for everybody involved. But I want to thank Todd Hawkins, who is the Executive Director of Arts and Culture for the City of Irving, for his leadership and helping shepherd this politically. Y'all, it was a political dance to get to this point. As you can imagine, as you witness here, this is kind of what we do, right? And Jen has been the absolute mama bear, making sure this thing kind of get shepherded through. This is my first time doing an exhibit. I am not a historian. So this is something that, as Jen mentioned, it came together over the course of 30 years. It started with me just calling up activists, people who were in ACT UP, people who were at Stonewall, and they said, wow, here's this little queer kid in West Texas. Let me send him something that shows him that he's part of a community that is worthy of its history. And yada, yada, yada. 30 years later, 10,000 objects later, that now forms the basis of the work that we do here at Badge of Pride to activate that collection. And so we've had tremendous partners as we put this together. Todd and Yesterqueer have been fabulous. The Dallas Way has been fabulous. And others, Cinewild has been a great partner, Uptown Players. So this has really been a community effort to bring this to bear. And what we're going to do after we wrap up, so this is open until the end of September, and it is free, by the way, every single day. It is open till the end of September, and then after that, we're going to start working to get it on the road, because everybody deserves to see this history and to see themselves represented in a museum. And so I like it. And so we're going to immediately put ourselves to that work. So there are museums around the state of Texas who are interested in saying, hey, let's have a conversation about bringing this there. And then we will do a similar process in those locations the way we did here, to work with the Todds and the Dallas Ways of those communities to weave in their own story into this exhibit. So please, if you haven't already, please follow us on social media. Come back, come again, and over, bring everybody you know to come and see this thing. We need bodies in the building. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce some folks that I am honored to be friends with and in community with. And so when I called up these guys, there was no hesitation. They were like, hell yeah, let's do this. And so I'm going to call up DR, and then he'll bring the rest of our panelists up to the front.
Hello, hello. Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Adrian. My name is DR Hansen. I am the founder of Cinewild. We are Texas's only monthly LGBTQ film series, and we have been screening films at the Texas Theater for the past 11 years. Cinewild believes in education, entertainment, and engagement. So an event like this is totally within our wheelhouse, and we're very honored to be here. So for the education portion of this afternoon, we are very lucky to have the writer and filmmaker, Robert L. Camina. Please come on up. And we are very excited to have Todd Camp, who is featured prominently in the film. Todd Camp is an activist and archivist and the director of Yesterqueer, which is Tarrant County's LGBTQ history project. So please give a round of applause for Todd Camp. All right, friends. Real fast, Joel Burns, who was also featured in the documentary, was supposed to be here, but he has COVID. Yes, it is still a thing. If you know Todd, feel free to send him some well wishes today and while he recovers. First of all, this film is 16 years old. So I'm very curious what you all are feeling right now, seeing it in today's climate.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for screening it today. It has been quite a while, and it's kind of sobering to watch it in a public setting. It's been a long while since I've watched it in a public screening, and seeing people on the screen that are no longer with us. Tom Annable, David Mack Henderson, Randy Norman, Raymond Gill. They may no longer be with us, but their voices aren't silent. So I'm just honored that we are able to keep their memories alive and their legacy alive. Watching it in this political climate, that is a loaded question. Actually, I'm going to wait to kind of talk about that.
We can circle back to that.
Circle back in the like when we talk about the legacy of it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Anything that you're feeling in terms of just being a filmmaker, seeing your work displayed today?
I'm just watching it, and I leaned over to Todd, going, "How the hell did I pull this off?" This was my first documentary film.
Wow.
And the origin of it is that that Sunday morning, it started off as just a seemingly typical, normal Sunday morning. I rolled out of bed, got in a cup of coffee, logged onto Facebook, routine. And I started seeing all these posts about a gay bar raid in Fort Worth. And it was hard to tell what was true, what was not, if people were exaggerating. But posts just kept on popping up in my feed until I ran across Todd Camp's post, which was very disturbing and very detailed. And when I read his post, well, I knew Todd, and I knew Todd was not one to exaggerate, especially in something as serious as this. This raid had my full attention. And as the day wore on, and I learned about the rallies that were happening. The details about the raid were unclear, and the future was uncertain. But I had this instinct that I needed to capture this on video. I thought, could possibly make a good short film. Short film. 2.5 years later, hour and a half later, we have Raid at the Rainbow Lounge. It was not a short film, but I went down to the rallies in Dallas and over to Fort Worth for the rally outside of the Rainbow Lounge. Started filming right then and there. Started talking to witnesses, scheduling interviews, and that's where the arduous task began, and I never looked back.
A majority of the film from this documentary is your film, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so like every time that it says courtesy of, that was stuff that you got from everything else, but everything else is film that you collected.
Yes.
That's incredible. To jump in that quickly, and to not, it doesn't even sound like you knew what you were doing. I say that respectfully.
Yeah, no.
Just the idea that like, I'm gonna go and do this, and then showing up, you got to see what was needed to happen, and you just kept showing up and filming things. I think that's a beautiful testament to you as a documentary.
Thank you.
So kudos.
I did not know, I think ignorance played played into my advantage because I didn't know what I couldn't, quote unquote, couldn't do, where my limits were. I just knew instinctively the elements that I needed to capture to tell the story responsibly, unbiased, as unbiased as I possibly could, objectively, because I didn't want to create a film that would be dismissed as propaganda.
Sure.
I wanted to tell the story from all sides, as fairly and as balanced as possible, but I wanted to be representative factually.
We'll get back to that in just a second. Todd, I want to check in with you. How are you feeling after seeing this? Again, it's been a little bit of time.
We've shown the movie a few times. I've shown it on college campuses a couple times recently. I am always amazed at the ability it has, especially you mentioned there's like part at the very beginning where it really just kind of recaps exactly what happened. And I get choked up and very emotional because it takes me to that night. And I don't know that we actually stayed in the movie, but the reason I was at the Rainbow Lounge was because it was my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And I was there with all my friends. Robert and I knew each other because I ran the gay film festival at that time called Q Cinema. And so we had just shown 2 documentaries at the Fort Worth Public Library earlier that day, before Stonewall and after Stonewall.
Wow.
So when I tell the story about what happened and then I just kind of look out over the crowd, I'm like, what the hell is happening on the 40th anniversary? Because I didn't think a lot of people in the bar probably even knew that it was
the anniversary.
That it was that anniversary. I know the police department didn't, because I spoke to them about it constantly, but I think a lot of people there didn't know. And I spoke to a lot of police officers about it afterwards. Like, let's just say for fun that we had shown those 2 movies in the bar that night, which we had done. I mean, we ended up screening a lot of movies at Rainbow Lounge. And then you guys came in, and how differently it could have gone, and why the ignorance as to the importance of that day could have really made this a much darker story and a much darker outcome. But I'm still struck by how emotional it makes me feel, because it takes me back. Like Robert said, I look at all the people that are no longer with us, including my husband, who's in several shots, and Tom and a lot of our good friends. Wow. And it's hard.
Very surreal, it sounds like, the evening for you to be there.
Yeah.
I also think this is just a beautiful testament of how important historical exhibits like Badge of Pride and history in general is important for queer people, because we don't even know our own history sometimes. We have to be our own historians as well as our own doctors and everything else, because people in power do not recognize our needs and who we are and the importance of who we are. Just a little tangent right there.
And I think that the fact that it happened on the 40th anniversary, it was the best thing or the worst thing, depending on your point of view, that could have happened.
Well, in today's society, I think right now people are optics are so important that I think people wouldn't have done it. I guarantee you that if they knew it, they wouldn't have done it that night. And like right now, it wouldn't have happened that day because of optics.
Because that's what was the hook for the news.
Yeah, correct.
Is that it was the 40th anniversary. Had it been any of the 364 other days of the year, it probably wouldn't have gotten the amount of press that it did.
Absolutely.
But the fact that the raid happened on the 40th anniversary and the parallels were haunting, that really that was not great for the law enforcement.
No, it was not. The thing that jumps out at me too when watching the film was the importance of how quick action needs to be taken in order to galvanize people and to get your statement across. The fact that it was not even 24 hours that y'all are doing this, and then to find out that the police report was done on Monday in response to what you all were doing, that's another thing that we would not be where we are today with this, and you all wouldn't have gotten the progress that you did if we didn't act that quickly. So kudos to you all for doing that, for being the activist, for being the documentarian, for showing up and documenting who we are in that time. So kudos. I'm curious, how long it took you to edit the film. You said 2.5 years?
Years.
Yeah.
Or at least it felt like years. Well, the challenge was I was filming this in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
You know, I did not know where the story was going to go, what the story arc was, what the story beats were going to be, because the story was still unfolding.
Sure.
So I couldn't start really editing until, after the police reports, investigations had ended and the findings had been released.
So this is in real time. You're doing this in tandem. You're doing
Yeah,
interviews with what's happening, grabbing news footage that's happening in real time, gathering it, and then constructing your story.
Exactly. I mean, at any point I could have gotten a phone call and said, this is happening, and I would drop what I was doing, jump in the car, drive from North Dallas to Fort Worth to film police press conference or city hall meeting or whatever, and I'm very grateful that I had the flexibility to do that.
Sure.
But yeah, it was a one-man band production for a while. But when it comes to the editing, I really started to edit it around 2010, leading up to the 1-year anniversary of the raid. I was editing together a teaser trailer that was scheduled to debut at Q Cinema, and we debuted it there, and it was going to be released on the 1-year anniversary on YouTube. And so that was what you saw in the movie, the recount, the haunting recount. That's what the teaser trailer was, and that teaser trailer became the basis of what you saw in the film. So I started editing that because I knew that was going to play a huge portion of a huge role in the film. But then things are still unfolding. So capturing more video, couldn't start editing, but around in December 2011, recorded the voiceover with Meredith Baxter, and I was editing up until the release of the film in March of 2012.
How did you get Meredith Baxter?
How did I get? It's a funny story. I had a short list of people that I was interested in, that I thought would make a good narrator, and Meredith happened to be at the top of my list.
Just a big Family Ties fan?
Yeah. That, and I thought she just had that tone of her voice, is that like trustworthy. She brought to the table like America's Mom. She brought that tone, that comfort, that trustworthiness to the table. I didn't tell Tom Annable this. He runs into Meredith Baxter at an HRC function, tells her about this film, mentions we're looking for a narrator. She said, have Robert contact me. I did, and she said she was on board.
That's amazing.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. It's got to feel very affirming too, to have somebody with that stature to be able to say, like, I'm going to support this. Even if she's not saying anything, her lending her voice to this is a support.
It was an honor, and she's exactly the kind of person you would expect her to be too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the people in that cast, but we won't go there. You mentioned something about trying to be impartial with this and trying to be objective, and I'm really curious. I did a little bit of research on like how to approach a documentary, and there's many schools of thoughts about what objectivity is. And
I'm looking for my notes on this.
Yeah. Take your time. Take your time. I'm just curious, like, one, do you believe in objectivity when you're filming? You've done a couple documentaries under your belt.
Yes.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on objectivity when you're filming. And two, can you even really be objective as a queer person capturing footage when it affects you so deeply?
I believe in objectivity and being impartial, but I don't think it is humanly possible to be 100% objective, period, no matter how you feel. It's you bring a certain bias to the table. You have a certain perspective, but I tried really, really hard to be impartial and to fairly represent all sides of the story.
Was there a moment where you had to kind of pivot when you were going in with this idea? I'm pretty confident that you probably weren't like going in every time like, I have bias about this. But I'm wondering if there was a moment when you were going in with some expectation and then you had to pivot very quickly and kind of maybe quiet your biases because of what was being filmed or what you were learning.
Well, there were times that I didn't necessarily agree with the way things were being handled
Gotcha.
by organizations or the community. But I set those aside because
Okay.
I didn't want my opinion to influence the audience. I wanted a film where the audience could draw their own conclusions
Yeah.
of how they felt the way things were handled, or if they believed the police and what they were saying. I didn't want to draw conclusions for them. I respect the audience too much for that.
You touched on something that I want to pull Todd in with this. The idea of all these people working together to make this amazing change. I think anyone here that has worked with another organization or another person can understand how hard it can be to wrangle cats like that. And queer people are a special lot. So I'm curious, Todd, as someone that was in the middle of this, being filmed and organizing this, what was that like working with fairness, with liber action, with everyone that has their, we're talking about agendas and biases here. You're putting these people in a room. I know every one of those people had their own individual agenda that they were trying to achieve.
Right.
How did you and the people that you were working with navigate all of that noise to get some amazing things accomplished?
It's difficult because to Robert's point, I was involved with Fairness Fort Worth, so I was one of the founding members with Tom and several other people. So we had a very clear-cut agenda. We wanted to sit down with city officials and figure out how to get past this and how to move forward. Queer Liber Action was problematic to us in some ways because, number one, they were from Dallas, and this was a Fort Worth thing.
Sure.
So they were coming at it from a very different perspective than we were, right from the get-go. And there was a whole kind of perception locally that, this is not the Fort Worth way. We wouldn't do it this way. However, as Tom and John alluded in the movie, and later on, I was very much on that same front. We couldn't have done the things that we were able to do without them yelling in the streets, marching, screaming, standing up during city council members, getting thrown out of city council.
Yeah.
And you'll see that there are queer people in the community clapping
That they're getting thrown out. Yep, I saw that.
However, because they did that, it was moved to the front of the agenda.
Yeah.
We would not have even started talking until like after midnight if they hadn't done what they did. So I very quickly realized, and again, running Yesterqueer, one of the things that the example I give people a lot is when it comes to the AIDS movement, the quilt is an incredibly powerful emotional statement. You can't help but be moved by it. However, that alone wasn't enough to make change. You had to have ACT UP.
You had to have Larry Kramer.
Having Diane, doing all that kind of stuff. And you may not have approved their methods,
Yeah.
but they got stuff done. And you had to have both to be able to make it happen. And I think that was, in smaller cases, that pretty much was how it worked with us as well.
There's a line in the film that really resonated with me, the rational and the radical. And it sounds like in this instance, Dallas might have been the radical and Fort Worth was the rational, which, whatever. Just going off of your story in this scenario, that's maybe what that is. But like you said, it takes both in those scenarios. And I find that very grounding and sobering because anger is necessary. The other quote that really resonated with me is the anger leading to dialogue. And so you got some great sound bites here of people in a moment of time fighting for rights, really grounding us in the reality of what it means to actually get that work done. So I think it's really cool. And it's a reminder for all of us of breaking the binary and remembering that it takes all kinds here. Just learning how to work with people with respect is maybe a little bit more important that we should strive to do. But I don't know, maybe just be radical and fuck things up. Sorry. I should have checked in with everyone about language before we had this conversation. I do want to kind of go back to the line of the anger leading to dialogue. In today's climate, things have changed a lot in 16 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, as much as I see the wisdom in that, is that even a tactic that can be used anymore with everyone being so polarized?
I mean, I think so. I think that's being vocal is right now one of our biggest tools. And I think Todd's comment at the end just is as relevant today as it was back then. When you see something wrong, speak up. And I think that is one of the strongest tools we have living in this country, is that we can speak out when we see something's going wrong. So I think that it's still necessary today.
Do you think it's happening though? Like, I'm biased about this, but I feel like there's a lot of things that we should be speaking out with right now that I don't see people doing, and
I don't know that, well, one of the things that's interesting, where you talked about, looking at this 16 years later.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when I ask, particularly when I show it to students, they ask, was like, why aren't there more pictures? Why isn't there more video? It's like, we all didn't have a professional video camera in our pockets like we do today.
And I asked that too. And the iPhone had just come out.
And it was expensive.
yes.
And so people, I mean, and also, today, people picking up their phone and recording something, that's second nature. That was not the culture back then. Chuck Potter just happened to have his little itty bitty actual camera. Okay, a camera was this individual device.
Yeah.
So he just happened to have it, and thank goodness, because otherwise,
Pictures.
yeah, I mean, otherwise it probably would have been dismissed as just hearsay. People wouldn't have believed it. So, so that, I mean, it was a different time. It was a different time back then.
But it was also too, because I think a lot of it had to do, and I said a lot of it at the time, because I got picked to be the guy on TV every night because I was a journalist. So there's like, how to talk to journalists, and it's like, now these are TV journalists. That's a completely different animal. But one of the things I told them a lot was, we had the fact that there were the people that were at the bar that night. If it had been like almost any other night, I don't know that it would have gone as well as it did. But the fact that it was like all the people who were there that were involved with the film festival, Tom Annable, these were respectable, well-known people in the community. And they had a certain cachet. So when they said something, like Robert said, it's like, I was a former journalist. So it was like, I'm not going to simply go up there and say, like, this is crazy. I was reporting exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So that when people saw that, and again, this was also a Facebook revolution. This was we started a Facebook group, and that expanded hugely. And that kind of was where all the protests and everything were born.
This is right after the Arab Spring. And
yeah.
And so the power of social media was
Twitter
really taking off. So that's that. So the Facebook page really helped galvanize the movement.
I was really curious how you all were able to get so many people so quickly, and being at 16 years earlier, I didn't know how relevant social media played on it, but it sounds like it was crucial to the success, which is great. I'm curious, anyone in the audience here, was anybody there that night? You were. I'm gonna, we'll chat with a little bit later. Not just great. I'm glad you're here.
I would just to like not to call him out, but Dylan was the story that I tell in the bar about being shoved aside and having the TABC officer grab the person in front of me, spin him around, tell him he's drunk, put him in zip ties and drag him off. That was Dylan. And I ran into Dylan randomly at a bar. He was there with a friend of a friend, and he kind of disappeared into the woodwork after the documentary. And Robert looked for him forever. There were several people that kind of just either under advice of counsel or just out of sheer fear, just vanished after the raid. And we did everything we could. As Tom said, we had our meetings in churches. We had a special officer liaison. What is that guy's name? Oh, I love him.
Wait, you're talking about Sarah? Sarah's trying to like
the
liaison?
officer that was designed to kind of help us do the interviews, who ended up coming out later on his own. Remember what I'm talking about?
No.
We were doing these individualized interviews. We were trying to get people to tell where they were, what they were, we had the little diagram in the bar. But there was an older gentleman, and I can't remember his name, he's a total sweetheart. But he ended up coming out later after having dealt with the community for so long.
That's incredible. I love that. I'm curious what was the response when the documentary came out from the community?
Oh boy, that's a day that I am not going to ever forget. We had the world premiere in Sundance Square at the AMC down there.
Wow.
I parked my car and was walking around the building to the front of the theater, and there were police snipers on the roofs by the theater. In the event, we had protesters and we had trouble. I'm like, wow, because the film and I were the lead story on every single news channel. It was, I guess, a slow news day, but I was overwhelmed by the amount of press that we got.
Wow.
I was not prepared for that, and when I turned the corner, I'm like, they're here for us.
Yeah.
And like it was surreal, but it was a packed theater with so many people that were in the bar that night. Almost everybody that was in the film was there. Meredith Baxter was there with her wife, who almost didn't come because there were threats, of violence or protests, and she was scared. She's like, "Should I come?" And I assured her that it was safe, that it was okay for her and her wife to come, and we didn't have any protesters. I'm a little offended at that. I seriously was. I was prepared for protesters and not a one. But it was surreal. And
Did they let you know that they were going to have snipers up on the
no,
roof?
no.
Wow.
But I felt.
Are you sure they were there to protect?
Yeah. Chief Halstead in the police department, at the end of the day, became a huge advocate and friend of me and of the community. I mean, he misspoke at the beginning. He had some major missteps in communications, but he redeemed himself, and like I said, he became a friend. He said, after the screening, that I fairly represented him and the police department. I mean, which was a compliment to me, because he could have been irate at the depiction, but he went on to support the film, endorsing it to other police chiefs around the country in whatever city that we were filming. I tried to use film festival screenings particularly as forums for discussions between the LGBT community and their law enforcement and city officials. So we had police chiefs, assistant police chiefs, city council people represented in many of the cities to discuss the Rainbow Lounge raid and what they had in place to prevent something from like that from happening in their community. So it was not just a film to watch and be entertained per se, but it sure served a function too.
Sure. Education, absolutely. What was the response that you experienced, Todd, when the documentary came out from the queer community?
I think it was pretty much overwhelmingly positive. We had been waiting for a while. There was a lot of change that resulted, as you can see at the very end, where we're kind of listing the things that had happened. Many of which I'm still very, very proud of today. Fort Worth has led the way on trans protection more before any other city in Texas, which kind of blew me away. A lot of it was the direct result of a response to what happened at the Rainbow Lounge. Afterwards, and Robert and I talked about this, there was an aftermath beyond the film and beyond the actual raid itself. It took a toll on a lot of us. Having been thrust into the spotlight so quickly and so constantly was exhausting for a lot of people. Some people embraced it, others not so much. So I was just kind of done with local gay politics for a minute. Disappeared. We had some casualties from it, unfortunately. And it was a tough time to kind of look back and look forward as to what the next steps were. But we still were able to make constant improvements and changes. I think all 20 of those requests were finally accomplished.
Do they still exist?
To the best of my knowledge, yeah, nothing has been removed.
Okay, great.
We're seeing a lot of things that are happening. but I don't think a lot of those things can really be undone that easily. So
Okay.
there's some internal city stuff, but, and there was a lot of pushback. I mean,
Sure.
as you can guess, there were not a lot of cops and firemen who were super cool with wanting to be forced to learn pronouns and all kinds of things like that. So there was some definite pushback, and Tom and Steve Friday, who one of my buddies who did a lot of the classes, would tell me stories about the things he would hear. But I've talked to a lot of different officers over the years, and I have seen a radical change in the police department. I just went to a reception for the new police chief, the interim police chief, while they select a new one, and we had a very open discussion about the raid, and I'm working with them on accessing the police archives to pull up history about their run-ins with the LGBTQ community over the years. So I'm seeing, you know, the fact that we talked about Jeff, the fact that I would ever be on a hugging basis with the chief of police of Fort Worth was kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
What was the response from the Fort Worth Police Department when this came out? Or any of those, did you get any pushback from the people that were featured in here? Like the ones that lost their jobs or anything like that?
No, no.
Great.
I was prepared.
Yeah.
I even prepared my parents because I did not know what kind of crazy we might experience. TABC agent Aller's wife came to a couple of the city council meetings, and she was very opinionated. Very energetic and opinionated. So I didn't know what to expect. So I braced my parents and prepared them just in case, you know, something happened, but nothing did.
I think that says something too.
I do want to state for the record that I did try to get Agent Aller to participate in the documentary. Because I thought it was important to include his side of the story, just like I thought it was important to include Chief Halstead's side of the story. I felt that without their voices, it was unbalanced, and it was it could easily be dismissed as propaganda.
Yeah.
So I needed their voices, but I was told no, respectfully. I will give them this. I was never disrespected. But they declined. He declined the invitation. But fortunately, I was able to license a clip from the news to have some part of his story, and then use the audio from the investigations to shine a little bit more on his thinking and his frame of mind.
So, thinking about Fort Worth in today's climate, I know you were working very tirelessly to get a marker put up in Fort Worth to commemorate the Rainbow Lounge, a historical marker, and that did not go through earlier this year, correct?
Yeah, I think just to clarify, the marker was going to be located in front of where the Rainbow Lounge used to be. And of course, the Rainbow Lounge burned to the ground in 2017. So it is now just an empty lot. I had spoken with some folks at the Queer History South Conference, hosted by our good friends at Dallas, the Dallas Way, and they were bragging on their new marker that just got placed at NC Springs.
Yeah.
And I had done a presentation to city employees for Pride and mentioned, hey, wouldn't it be great if we did a marker in Fort Worth? And so I had some city employees approach me afterwards, and we began discussion. It was in 2022, so it was a 2-year process of trying to pull together what I was going to say and everything. I honestly never believed it was going to happen. I thought, hearing the rigmarole they had to go through to get one in Dallas, I was like, well. But when I heard that it had passed, I was ecstatic. And then when I heard that we had a local county judge basically single-handedly torpedo it, I was not surprised at all.
Sure.
But I was disappointed. We are, however, going to reapply.
Okay, that was my next question.
We're going to reapply in October. And there are a number of options that we're exploring on that front. However, the marker, and I think there was some misconception, because of its location, the marker was never meant to recognize or even mention the Rainbow Lounge, because state historical markers require at least 30 years of history. So we were starting 1975 and prior. So that's kind of the area of history that we were talking about. And that community is, that's long been like Cedar Springs. South Jennings has been the neighborhood for Fort Worth for all that time. So there was some misconception around that. There was, he was convinced it was all just about drag promotion. And I'm like, do you even read it? I mean, what did read?
It was clearly politically motivated, and I, DR Man Hansen, say that. Good luck with that. Please look at your community here and rely on them and put out what you need to get the support to make this happen, because if Dallas can have one, so can Fort Worth.
And Dallas is the only one in Texas.
In Texas.
And when I spoke to the city commissioners, Fort Worth has not one marker for the Hispanic community. It's like, wow, do we not have any Hispanic history in Fort Worth? What's going on? I don't know what is happening. Like, why are people not doing this? Why does Houston not have a gay marker? I mean, JD, my buddy who runs the Houston archive, he's got tons of history. I know that there could be several markers if they wanted to. So, well,
this is a call to anyone watching. Let's get queer historical markers all through Texas.
Hell yes.
Great. Speaking of the importance of this film being a catapult for LGBTQ rights in Fort Worth, and considering what's going on right now with this marker and the redistricting that's possibly happening in Fort Worth and all the political BS, I learned, BS, that is happening there, is there maybe a sequel to Raid of the Rainbow Lounge to galvanize the community that could be done, Robert L. Camina?
I'm gonna never say never. There's progress is not stagnant. There's steps backwards, there's steps forward. It's a living organism.
Yeah.
So capturing that, is certainly a possibility. Hopefully there won't be something as traumatic as the Rainbow Lounge.
Yes, let's not hope for that.
Yeah, but never say never.
Sure.
Because one thing I learned from this film is that the power that documentaries have. This film alone, beyond film festivals and beyond the local screenings, it was screened by the North Texas U.S. Attorney's Office.
Oh, wow.
It was screened by a division of the U.S. State Department. It screened at the Library of Congress.
That's amazing.
And because of the activism that we did with the film, I received an invitation to the Obama's White House Pride celebration, where I met two members of the Justice Department who requested screeners. Wow. So this little short film grew up to become a teaching tool that I'm really proud of. And we're watching it, how many years later? 13 years later after its debut, and there's still many parts are still really relevant.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really good reminder of where we came from, where we are now, and hopefully what we can aspire to be. And I think right now we all need some aspirational material to help remind us of the better people we can be. And I think this definitely can help on that front, which is quite a testament to your filmmaking, Robert. Congratulations. A little bit of tea. Are we ready for that? I feel like the TABC kind of did apologize through the documentary. Did we ever get an apology from the chief and from the mayor for what happened? A genuine, let me specify, a genuine apology from the mayor or the chief of police?
I don't think we got one from the mayor, no. Now, Chief Halstead was very sincere. Like I don't remember if it came out specifically as an apology.
An apology, yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at footage.
Sure.
But he spoke at great length at the Q&A after the world premiere, and he admitted his faults.
Sure.
And he embraced them, and, and took responsibility for them. So I think that speaks a lot for his character.
I hear you, and I receive that. But I'm also just going to say, if you're going to go that far, why is it so difficult to say I'm sorry?
Like, again,
that's a question for you.
I'd have to go back and look at footage to see if it, what was actually said, because I'm not going to say he didn't.
Sure.
But it's been a few minutes.
I guess the greater point, in my opinion, is how reticent we are to apologize and just say, I'm sorry. There is power in apology. And it has
When
to
it
be
comes, when it comes to the right place.
the right
and
place,
for the
it has
right
to be
person.
genuine, absolutely, all these things. But it's interesting to me to hear that someone's gonna go like, make all these changes, but still not just do that one simple thing, which is just to say, I'm sorry this happened, it shouldn't have happened, we're doing better.
Yeah.
They skip to the we're doing better part. And that apology can be a balm on so many wounds that so many people just seem to overlook. You're gonna,
I think, and to Robert's point, I think he has.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he has. And I know that sense of regret over what happened that night is definitely very much alive within the Fort Worth Police Department. I don't think we could see something like the Rainbow Lounge happen again, because that was such a public spanking across the country. I mean, it made international news, and it put Fort Worth in the spotlight in a bad way. And Fort Worth doesn't like to be in the spotlight in a bad way.
it's still happening. Pittsburgh just got raided.
Yeah.
Bar in Pittsburgh just got raided. So I'm just saying, I hear you, and I want to believe you. I'm gonna get behind the Todd Camp bandwagon. I'm just gonna say,
Just to give you an example, I had a woman under the influence of something or another break into my house, and I called the police, and it became like literally a 4-hour standoff because they thought she had a gun. So it was helicopters, drones, the whole shebang.
Where was I with the video camera?
there's our sequel. There's our sequel.
But they're like, and they were telling me like, normally we would just like blow the front of the house off and fill it with tear gas and drag her out. But we know who you are, so it was like, we're not gonna do that. And I was like, okay, thank you, appreciate that. So there's a little of that. I think that
For you, Todd.
well, for me, well, that's whatever. But no, I think that for the community as a
Okay.
whole, I think they just stayed the hell away from the gay bars unless the bars called them.
Okay.
So that I noticed that for many years to come.
Okay.
It was like, look, we made a big mistake. We're not going to make that mistake again.
Is Fairness Fort Worth still operating?
I don't think it is.
Not that I'm aware of. It kind of teetered on for
Yeah.
a little while. It went
The two main founders are no longer with us,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
you know, they did a lot of great work. We worked with a lot of different other minority organizations who were very much trying to figure out how to get the kind of publicity that we got, and it was very successful while it happened. But you know, I think what has happened is there was a direct meeting that was going on with local LGBTQ leaders and police and fire. That happens every quarter. We just did it recently, and it's an ongoing open dialogue between all of the local LGBTQ community leaders and the local law enforcement and fire, which I encourage. You guys aren't doing it in your own communities. You should probably try to do that. It's just very helpful, and they're fantastic about listening to our concerns and worries.
Oh, I love that.
I have a question, and it's probably Todd, you might be able to answer. I think you may have hit on this a little bit before, but a question that's lingered with me is how much does the current mayor and city council members know about the raid itself and its aftermath? Do they know that it just happened and it's ancient history, or do they know the lessons? Have they watched the documentary? Have they, to see what
Shameless
happened?
plug.
Have
Raid
they-
of the Rainbow Lounge.
not just
I'm
because it
kidding,
is
I'm
my
kidding,
film,
I'm
but
kidding.
because of the lessons that
Sure.
it taught. I mean, they could walk away with something constructive.
100%. I mean,
And
this,
so, I mean, I'm just curious, how aware are they? Because it is kind of ancient history when when you look at.
I know Betsy Price, the former mayor, has seen it.
Yeah, she did. But
Maddie Parker, who was one of Betsy's acolytes, I don't know if she has seen it. Fort Worth, like we said, we've had 2 steps forward, 3 steps back a few
Yeah.
times. We did away with our Pride Proclamation last year, and now we did a kind of a half-ass version of it this year. But so there's still a little of that going on. I don't know. Honestly, it's a whole new group.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are at least a few city council people who have seen it, or at least are aware of it. They are aware of the history, and they are aware of how much of a public thing it was for the city, and how they really don't want that to happen.
yeah,
again.
because I mean, it's not just LGBT
I know
history.
we
It's
told them.
it's
Like,
Fort
you don't
Worth.
want us to do this again, do you?
It's Fort Worth history, and they need to know their history. So I was curious on if it was just something like a footnote, or if they were aware, because we don't want history to repeat itself. And
absolutely not.
so I was it's one of those lingering questions that I've had as an outsider looking in.
One last question, a little bit of tea spilt. What do you think happened to the Rainbow Lounge?
Oh, you don't want to ask me.
I think I do, Todd.
Well, I mean, it burned down because of it was a faulty ice machine, which how big boxes of frozen water often cause buildings to burn down.
Is that the legitimate? That's what they say.
Yes.
Got it. Cool. Could happen. Sure. Sure.
There was talk about Rainbow reopening at a new location. The owners moved to Florida. JR, who was the owner of Rainbow Lounge when it was raided, is now the owner of Reflection and Jackie O's and a new bar called Diablo's. He opened a bar called Rainbow 2.0, which you'll see the sign for in the back,
cool.
on the far west side of town, which it didn't last very long because it was just not really conducive to. Yeah, it was too far away. And so the name kind of lived on, and that is the actual original Rainbow logo. But now it was, that was, I guess we'll never know. I don't know. I'm certainly going to talk to the fire department when I get my chance to chat with those guys.
That's the sequel.
Yeah. Like, hey,
Do you have any ideas of what you think happened to the Rainbow Lounge?
Since I just have no other reason.
It burned down. That's what you're going to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have to believe in the story
Sure.
until proven otherwise. Yeah.
There we go.
if you want to see a piece of it, it's actually in
Yeah.
Adrian's exhibit. Well, there's an actual brick, but no, the actual 651, which was the street address for the Rainbow Lounge, it used to be a bar called the 651. It opened in 1969. It was the longest consecutive gay bar in Fort Worth history.
Wow.
It was a gay bar until it burned down in 2017. But the original 651, you can see on the cover of Fort Worth Weekly, that was on the side of the building, is now in the big room in Adrian's exhibit. That's from the Esther Queer Archives. We were able to save that from someone's yard.
If you all have been lovely to stick with us this entire time, I'd love to open it up to the audience to see if you all have any questions. Before we do that, I'm curious, how many of you all have seen Raid of the Rainbow Lounge before today? You saw it before, raise your hand. Oh, we've got a
DVDs.
You've got a super fan. How many? This was everyone else. This was the first time that you saw it was here today.
Thank you
That's
guys for
amazing.
coming.
Thank you
That's
all so much for coming out. Thank you, Badge of Pride, for creating this opportunity for us to remember a part of Fort Worth history. That's really, really important and really beautiful. We do have somebody here that was there that night, which I'm very grateful for. I'd love. What's your name again? Dylan. Would you like to come up and just share any of your thoughts? Being here, watching this. What it was like for you that evening, maybe?
Hell.
Oh, okay, well, here you go, my friend.
Thank y'all. First, I do want to say thank you so much for Robert and Todd and everybody else involved in this that did this for us. I hid afterwards. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. But yeah, no, pretty much everything that was in the documentary pretty much happened. That penny wagon that you saw in there, I was in there. That was me in there. My friend also got arrested that night too. He got arrested just for asking why I was getting arrested. Try not to get choked up thinking about it all because I suppressed it for so long. But it was a very scary night. I was zip tied. I couldn't feel my hand for like a month afterwards as well. They grabbed me, pulled me out of the club, sat me in a cop car, and I was like, "Why am I getting arrested?" And he was like, "Because you're intoxicated." I was like, "I literally just got here 20 minutes ago. I had a beer in my hands. I barely even drink beer. I had like maybe 2 sips of my beer, and I was just like so confused. I was like, "Can I just get a sobriety test? Like I literally walk a line right now." And he was like, "It's too late. You're already under arrest." And I was like, "This doesn't make any sense." He's like, "Well, you had an open container in public." And I was like, "It's a bar." I'm like, "It's a bar. Like, are you gonna tell me you're gonna go in there and arrest all 300 people plus whatever? How many are in there with a treat?" So I was like so confused about that, And so I was just like, "All right." And then after that, he was like, "All right, now you're gonna win in the petty wagon," and then spent the night in jail. The next day, got out. My friend Josh, who we were in the VIP lounge next to Todd, his roommate Lindsay, who's also in the video, we were the reason why we got to the VIP lounge because she hooked us up, So we got benefits on that. And so we're just like, we got home and she's like, it's everywhere. Like everyone's like really mad, everyone's like really pissed. And then I started getting all these calls from like NBC5, CBS, Fox 4, like all these people started calling me. Ellen DeGeneres gave us a shout out. I even had like 5 lawyers trying to represent me like pro bono, but I picked a lawyer and she was really great. Can't remember her name, but total shout out to her. She was amazing. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. And so, but she was fantastic. She was by my side the whole entire time, and I had all my charges dropped because of her. It took maybe about a year and a half or so. But that's why I couldn't really be a part of like the documentary or anything. I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I wasn't really allowed to I wasn't allowed to be myself really. I was in a dark place during that time. I was in an abusive relationship. My friends were just trying to take me out to have a good time. And that good time, I got arrested. And then I was not in a good place. And so I hid. Yeah, I would like wake up and just start drinking every morning. I was so depressed. Like it was a really hard time. Like it was not fun. But like I said though, like we got out and then the news came to my house like on Monday. And my dad's like, "What the you do this weekend? Why is all the news in front of your house?" Like, I was like, yeah, that part." So then I was like, "Well, let me go out there and like, get ready and like, let me go out there and talk to them." And then they were all going to start interviewing me in the yard. And then he was just like, "Get off my property! You're all trespassing." And then my dad and I almost got into like a fist fight. I was like, "You don't like me because I'm gay." And he was like, "That's not what it is. You're out there getting drunk." I was like, "You don't even understand this situation." So then I left and I went over, I was like, "Follow me." So I'm like going down Beach Street and I have like 5 like news camera like vans like following me down like Beach Street. I'm like, "We're going to Josh's apartment. Let's go." And then so we all get to Josh's apartment and we do the interview. And then after that, the last thing I think we did was like Chad Gibson's like his visual, like that's the only thing Josh and I did. After that, we were like, "I don't want to be a part of this." And
You were at the vigil.
The visual.
Yeah, because Robert was like,
yeah. I was one with the Abercrombie like camo shirt on. It was 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think
Magical
that was,
at the
like,
time.
that was the only thing. But then after that, like my world just spiraled and but it all eventually like once I had my lawyer by my side and everything got dropped and I knew I was clear and good to go, I slowly started regaining my strength. And you mentioned earlier about like voice. I held my voice for 16 years and I am one that is actually voicing myself finally. So yeah, no, thank you all so much, everybody, for your support. I didn't realize all of that. Like I didn't know all of that was happening because I was hiding and I had no idea. So thank y'all. Like thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you,
y'all.
Dylan.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here today. I hope this was a cathartic and healing experience for you. And just look around. You've got a whole community here that wants to support you.
Absolutely love it. Thank you.
Any questions from our audience? Yes.
Do you think the lack of an apology, official apologies from anyone, because they were afraid of lawsuits? Because obviously Chad got some settlements. Do you think that's why the mayor and everyone was hesitant to make a public apology?
It's possible. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's admission, I mean, of
Yeah.
guilt.
Culpability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. But still, I think
satisfactory.
it's not satisfactory for me. No, I do believe in the power of apology. But you bring up a very good point. Like when investigations are going on, you can't really talk about them, as we've seen in many different cases. And so that's a very real reality that you're bringing up, and I appreciate that. But it's been 16 years now, and I think some people might need to give an apology. But I will let that horse be dead in the corner. Any other questions? Yes.
I was really struck by the details of the arrests themselves. And like there was one frame up there that had kind of pasted all of the different arrests and some of their overlapping qualities. And the one that was like everybody in that bar seemed to have really red, watery eyes. And what it made me think of is kind of some of the tactics that we see police using and continuing to use when they kind of go back and try to figure out their story and get it straight. And I just kind of wanted to point that out because I see that elsewhere in terms of other like raids that have happened. I'm always curious to see how the police describe the rationale and the evidence for the arrest. And it's not really a point, I'm just putting it out there to point out like that's still a tactic that we kind of still see today in kind of high profile Okay, because then to connect that also with the fact that it took a couple of days for like a couple of days after the arrest for the kind of the summaries to come out.
The reports.
Yeah, it was more
Yeah.
like a reaction
Yeah.
too, because why would you say something didn't happen? Chad did not hit his head on the ground if that was not a reaction. to
Correct,
something.
yeah, that's-
You wouldn't put a negative, like, if,
Yeah.
in a report if it was filed when it was supposed to be filed.
And one of the things that, that struck me is like, you saw footage, Robert has footage of the bars. You guys have been in a bar, right?
It's dark.
Not exactly the brightest of places. And they
Gay bar.
weren't grabbing people and shining a flashlight in their eyes. They were not doing that. That did not happen to people. So I don't know how they could tell anybody's eyes were red or watery.
Also, this area of the country is riddled with allergies. So
Exactly.
so calm down. Calm down, everyone.
It's in June.
Yeah, calm down. But it's a very good point to remember that we have a responsibility, in my opinion, to hold our public servants accountable and to call BS when there's BS. And we do know for centuries the police have used specific language against certain minority people as a way to save face, avoid accountability, and continue discrimination. So I appreciate the call out there and the reminder of those type of things. I will say that what I appreciated too was one of the positive things that came out of this film was them defining public intoxication a little bit more specifically. So again, if this were to happen, the outcome is something like this, where we actually are seeing real positive change happen to prevent this from going forward. So I hope that's still the case there. I hope those levels for raids still exist within the Fort Worth Police Department, because that is just as important as apology, in my opinion. So thank you for the comment there. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Yes.
Really just a statement, but first of all, I love documentaries, so thank you so much, because I believe that it brings things that are true. That there is no lie that is going on when it's a docu-series, and I
A responsible one.
Yeah.
yes, a responsible one, and I choose them very. I'm a member of IMAA or IMAD, and so I get to watch different docs that are either long, 45-minute ones, or either even an hour and a half. So thank you very much for doing this. And another thing that I wish the entire crowd was still there, because this is really kind of cathartic for me, that I'm sitting here and I'm watching this, and boom, there is Carol Ann West, who is Reverend West. To you that do not know that, she graduated from MacArthur High School here in Irving, Texas. She also taught high school at Irving, Texas, where I was a freshman, and she had just gotten out of college, so she was only 4 years older than I was. I am still very good friends with, she doesn't go by Reverend anymore because she is retired, but today is her birthday.
Oh, wow.
And so I want y'all to know.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Carol. A picture of this and a picture of you guys and a picture of that, and thanked her once again. And really just to say something even more cathartic than that was that when all of this was going on, I was raising my two boys and was being threatened with losing my children by my late husband. I bet you so, you ain't here no more. But, and went to Reverend West, because she was still a reverend, and I had great respect for her. It's hard for me to call her Carol. She was Miss West. Yes, but she was able to help me navigate that. And so seeing her and seeing myself as a citizen of Irving, we are still faced here in Irving with this from people who are actually on our city council.
Yeah.
And so these kind of films are so important, and I thank you for bringing this entire thing to this sweet little town that I can't seem to leave. I mean, every time I go to the ocean, I go, why do I live in Irving? But we live here because this is our hometown. And there are a lot of our community members living in this Irving that's still, we keep our mouth shut and do our business. My neighborhood is, south of here, just a little bit south really, it's almost bicycle distance. And it is, 95% Hispanic in my neighborhood, but we don't fire a flag anymore. Because there's just, there, once again, we're getting this ebb and flow tide of hatred is coming back. And so thank you for this film.
Well,
I cried. I cried watching this.
I will say thank you to being here because these things don't matter if people don't show up. And you being here and the people that are here today, it just shows the museum, it shows our community, it shows this nation that we are a people that care about where we are and where we're going. And I will say I'm glad that you are here in Irving. I will never begrudge anyone for leaving for safety, but if we all leave, nothing is ever going to change in Irving, nothing is ever going to change in Texas. So please check your privilege and stick around and galvanize and get with your community so that we can actually make this place represent us the way it should as a democratic state. So thank you for being here. Go visit the ocean, but don't move to the ocean, please.
Hey, I've got a quick comment and question also. Like we mentioned before, this film has been out in the public realm for 13 years, but it's still constantly being streamed. And occasionally I get reviews for the film, and I've received a review just last month, and well, he called it more of a rant than a review, but he was critical of the film's kind of rosy ending. He felt, let me get this quote right. He was critical of the film's rosy ending, and he called it, and I quote, "It's depressing to see how optimistic the documentary was." And he took it a step further, saying it was painfully optimistic. Well, the film ends by saying that Fort Worth emerged as a leader in LGBT equality. And he posed the question, I wonder if the filmmaker, and by extension, people in the film and the community at large, would still call Fort Worth a leader in LGBT equality. And I don't know. So Mike, I posed the question to you guys.
Well, I will say who lives in Fort Worth, because we got to make sure that they're the ones answering, because a lot of Dallas people here have, we've already heard some of the existing relationship between Dallas and Fort Worth. So Fort Worth people, do you think that Fort Worth is still a leader for LGBTQ rights and equality?
I also think because Fort Worth is so big, it's depends on the part.
Yeah, please go.
I have a comment. So I grew up in Dallas to east of Dallas, and we had some reservations moving to Fort Worth. But I will say that where we were in Dallas versus where we are in Fort Worth now is been immensely inclusive. We find allies everywhere. So I haven't visited enough cities to answer that question in particular, but I will say that for us, Fort Worth has been very, very inclusive and surprisingly so, and the community there is really strong.
I will say that being a leader is also doing stuff that no one else is doing, and it sounds like that's what Fort Worth did after this. You all mentioned, we saw those things that they say in the film, the transgender rights that have been established in Fort Worth. Those did happen. And if they're still there, then I would say, then yes, Fort Worth was a leader. What they're doing now, maybe they could do a little bit better, but they did that work. It is on the books. So I think that's something to be applauded for sure.
And I think there's a perception that, we live in a world now where we're constantly exposed 24/7 to news and our phones and on our social media. So anything bad that happens in the world, we get it right in our face immediately. So as the guy that is the keeper of the history of Fort Worth, when people tell me it's never been worse than it is right now, I'm like, honey, honey, it's been so much worse.
Yes.
Fort Worth has 4 gay bars. We used to have a lot more. However, you can go to any bar, any restaurant, any venue, everywhere in the city of Fort Worth and find queer people being out, being proud. I have never seen more trans people out in my city in my entire life. It is so affirming to me, and I get it. It's scary. It's scary for all of us, especially our trans brothers and sisters, but they are out and they are being themselves. We are being ourselves. We are still there, and people know it, and they support us. And if anybody comes for us in any way, the people in the front lines, it's not just us against the world. It's the people who love us, and that means straight people. Our allies are out there fighting for us constantly, and they are far more angry about us being mistreated than we are. I sometimes.
That's something I do. When you mentioned ally, Well, in the film, there's a very telling moment when they talk about the girl that gave the testimony during the city council, and she's a straight woman, and everyone talks about that being a turning point there, and that just shows the importance of allyship. Any fight for equality needs allies. So remember that too. We need allies, but you all are also an ally for somebody else. For women, for people of color, don't forget to be an ally as well, because allies have helped us so much. So we're all in this together. So thank you for the reminder of the importance of allyship, and I hope that you all can find a way to be an ally to somebody else. Yes?
Also, as a fellow full course resident, the city itself, I certainly approve. Unfortunately, our county is slipping.
The what?
The county.
The county. Got it. Yes. Got it. That's a very good distinction too when we're talking about politics. Cities and counties, they all are. Yeah. You're gonna say something, Robert?
No.
Okay. One more question, maybe before we wrap up. You all have been an amazing audience. Thank you again for your patience and sticking with us. Yes.
Is there anything that residents can do once you try to get the signage going in October to help push it through?
The historical marker.
Circle marker. Honestly, the next step is it's in our hands, just writing it. I don't know, again, I sat at a county commissioners meeting, and I saw some very eloquent, very well-spoken people get up and speak incredibly emotionally about a lot of things that they just completely ignored and voted against. So it's like, it felt a little disappointing, to say the least. However, yeah, I think the next time it comes up, we could certainly put together some kind of public campaign, like, hey, we would like to see this happen.
Also,
to kind of let it know.
The judge, like, there's articles out there with the judge's name. You all can write letters. We cannot forget how important it is to be an active part of the political process, especially in this state.
He's running for re-election.
Case in point, you all can get your voices heard, and it's just as simple as writing a letter and email. And I can't stress that enough. I say that as someone that doesn't really do it as much as I should, but let us all be inspired by this film and this documentary to stand up when we see injustice all around as an ally and for our own communities.
And if you like the movie and to that point, and you have friends that you think should see it, it is streaming on Tubi, it's streaming on Roku, Apple TV,
Prime?
Prime.
Absolutely.
And got a couple of DVDs left if if you still have a DVD player. Those are available too. But encourage people to watch it, because even though it is 13 years old, you've seen the value in it. So share it, because these voices still have a lot to say.
We're wrapping up. So shameless plug. What's happening in your world? I know you've got 2 documentaries that are really good. This Inferno Upstairs. Upstairs Inferno.
Upstairs Inferno, yes.
Are you working on any films right now?
If you have any money and funding for seed money, please talk to me after this is over.
So you have some projects that you want to do, is that
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
Okay, great.
I've got projects. I've got a stack of projects that are in the pipeline, but need that little push.
Is there anything coming up that we can go to support you at, see you at, a screening somewhere else?
Not at this moment,
Okay.
but if you go to communityentertainment.com or go to the Rate of the Rainbow Lounge Facebook page or Upstairs Inferno Facebook page, like that, you'll be able to keep in touch with the latest in community entertainment.
Todd, what's going on in your world? How can people be a part of what's happening with Yesterqueer?
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We've also got a website, yesterqueerfw.com. Next month, we will be back to our monthly Gay History Happy Hour, where I bring in a guest, talk about different topics. My band, the Bikini Whales, will be performing August 9th. If you're a fan of the B-52s, we are a B-52s cover band.
Love it.
So come see us at the Post in Fort Worth. You can follow us on socials at the Bikini Whales everywhere.
Fantastic. And to continue this shameless plug going forward, if you can follow and like Cinewild on social media, that would be fantastic. I think we're screening Priscilla next month. And we're doing a mocky horror picture show with it. There's a group in Dallas that's very much like Mystery Science Theater. And so they're putting together a script to perform in tandem with Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
That's awesome.
So like Cinewild on social media, please come out to our screenings that happen at the Texas Theater. Every month we do this. Next month is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And definitely, if you've not seen the exhibit here at Badge of Pride, you have till September. Tell all your friends. This museum needs your support. Become a friend of Irving, the museum. It's very cheap. It's a yearly thing. And I would say when you do that, just tell them that you're doing it because of the Badge of Pride so that the people know that are organizing this, that the pink dollar has power and that we're here to support our community. So definitely follow Badge of Pride and support them as well as all these organizations. And I want to give a huge round of applause to Robert El Camina for this amazing documentary.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Todd Camp for all the amazing things that you're doing in Fort Worth, keeping us honest and queer is amazing. Thank you for that, Todd. And Adrian and Badge of Pride, thank you for this incredible opportunity and creating this space. My name is Jerry Hansen with Cinewild. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a great day. Cheers.
Thanks so much. Jump off the table. Like Leslie Jordan said,
Yeah, I had trouble mounting. This is